Listen, there's a moment in everyone's life when you start to wonder if people really knew me, would they still love me? Would they stick around? Would they look at me different? Would they walk? Would they laugh behind my back? Would they throw my name in the trash with my past? Because you got secrets. You got scars. You got stuff you don't even say out loud in the dark. But here's the truth, and I want you to hear this with your whole chest. You are fully known and still fully loved. That means every chapter, every breakdown, every mess up, every time you thought you blew it too bad this time, even the version of you that you're ashamed of. Yeah, that one, still loved, not in pieces, not with conditions, not after you clean up, right now, as is. You think love leaves when you're exposed. Real love shows up when you're exposed. Fake love needs a filter. Real love says, I see it all and I'm not going anywhere. So stop performing, stop curating, stop trying to hide behind your best angles and your everything's fine mask. Because someone out there, maybe even someone sitting across from you, they don't want your highlight reel. They want you, the full, flawed, fighting through it version of you. And if you've been hiding your past, hiding your struggles, hiding the fact that sometimes you feel like you're too much and not enough all at the same time. Stop, because you don't have to earn real love. You just have to let it in. You've spent a lot of your life wondering if you're too much for people, too intense, too emotional, too broken, too loud, too deep, too honest. Or maybe the opposite. You've felt like you're not enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough, not successful enough, not spiritual enough, not confident enough, not lovable enough. It's like no matter what you do, you live stuck in this tug of war, too much and still not enough. Like you're always too something and never enough of anything at the same time. And you start to believe that maybe, just maybe, you're just wrong, like fundamentally wrong. Like maybe the way you love is too heavy, or the way you care is too needy, or the way you talk is too blunt, or the way you think is too dark. So you start to edit yourself, shrink yourself, filter yourself. You cut off pieces of who you are to make other people more comfortable. You quiet your voice, you hide your scars, you smooth out your rough edges because somewhere along the line, someone made you feel like being fully you wasn't safe. That being the whole, raw, real version of yourself would cost you something you couldn't afford to lose: love, approval, belonging. So you shrink to fit into boxes that were never made for you. You try to become easier to love, easier to handle, easier to understand. But let me ask you something, how's that working out? Does it feel good? Does it feel like freedom? Or are you exhausted from trying to be digestible to people who were never meant to sit at your table anyway? Because here's the truth that no one tells you loud enough. You are not too much, and you are not enough. You are exactly the person someone is hoping walks into their life, not the filtered, reduced version of you, but the full, uncut, all-in version. The version with contradictions and questions and passion and softness and strength and a little chaos and a whole lot of soul. The right people, the real ones, they aren't scared off by your depth. They're drawn to it. They're not annoyed by your honesty, they respect it. They don't flinch when you get vulnerable, they lean in. The ones who truly love you don't need you to tone it down or level it up, they just want you. They don't need a highlight reel. They want the behind, the scenes. They want the version of you that's messy and magical and figuring it out day by day. The one who's been through hell and still gets back up. The one who questions everything and still dares to believe in love. The one who's flawed but still fierce. And listen, I get it. The world will try to convince you that your value is in your resume, that your worth is in your productivity, that your beauty is in how closely you match someone else's standard, that your lovability depends on how little space you take up. But that's a lie. Real value, real worth, it's in your heartbeat, your honesty, your soul. It's in the fact that you're still here, still trying, still loving in a world that can be so damn cold. That matters. That's enough. So let go of the idea that you have to change to be chosen. Let go of the belief that you have to hide to be held. You don't. You've never had to. You are not too much for the heart that's meant to love you, and you are not too little for the ones who truly see you. If someone tells you you're too much, let them go find less. If someone makes you feel like you'll never measure up, maybe it's their ruler that's broken, not you. You've spent enough time apologizing for your existence. For your voice, for your thoughts, for your past. Stop that. You don't owe the world a diluted version of who you are. What the world really needs, what someone out there is literally praying for, is someone just like you. Honest, real, whole, maybe healing, maybe hurting, but you, not the edited version, the real one. You are not too much. You are not enough. You are exactly right. And anyone who makes you feel otherwise doesn't deserve a front row seat to your story. Let them watch from the back or not at all. You don't have to be perfect to be loved, just real. That sentence alone has the power to wreck everything you thought you had to be. Somewhere along the way, you picked up this idea that love had to be earned. That if you just worked hard enough, stayed quiet enough, looked good enough, acted strong enough, held it all together long enough, then maybe you'd finally be enough for someone to stick around. Maybe then you'd be worthy of love, but that's the trap, isn't it? You keep chasing this unreachable version of perfection, and it's exhausting. You wear masks, you put on a show, you say all the right things. You laugh when you want to cry. You act unbothered when you're breaking down inside. And people clap for the version of you they see, not realizing that the version they're cheering for isn't even real. It's a costume, it's curated, and deep down you feel more alone than ever. Because how could anyone truly love you when they've never really seen you? Let's just be honest. You're not perfect. No one is. But you are real. You are human. You feel deeply. You've been hurt. You've made mistakes. You've said things you regret. You've pushed people away. You've broken your own heart trying to protect it. You've done things out of fear, out of pain, out of confusion. And all of that, that's part of you. That's part of the story. That's not something you have to hide to be loved. That's exactly why you deserve to be. We live in a world that constantly pressures you to pretend. To pretend you're fine. Pretend you're strong. Pretend you're not struggling. Pretend you've got it all figured out. But the truth is, the most beautiful, powerful thing you can do is show up as you are. Without the mask. Without the act. Just you. Because the kind of love that matters, the kind that actually heals you, isn't attracted to perfection. It's attracted to authenticity. Real love isn't impressed by your performance. It doesn't fall for your filtered self. Real love leans into your vulnerability. It sees the cracks and still chooses to stay. It doesn't run when the real you shows up. It breathes a sigh of relief, because that's the you it's been waiting to meet. And here's something you need to believe down in your bones. You are lovable exactly as you are. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to become some flawless version of yourself to deserve it. You're not on trial. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to hold your breath and hope someone doesn't walk away once they see the mess. The right ones won't walk. The real ones will walk with you. Being real is risky. It's vulnerable. But it's also freeing, because when you stop trying to be perfect, you finally give people the chance to love you as you are, not as you pretend to be. And that kind of love sticks. That kind of love sees your dark and your light, your storms and your stillness, and it doesn't flinch. Stop believing that you have to be cleaned up to be worthy. You don't. Love isn't a reward for having it all together. It's a connection born in the space between two people willing to be honest, willing to be messy, willing to show up fully even if they're scared. So yeah, be real, be honest about your past, be open about your struggles. Be yourself, not the version of you that you think people will like. And watch how everything starts to change. Watch how love becomes less about trying to measure up and more about being met right where you are. The people who truly love you don't want perfection. they want you. The you who laughs too loud, who sometimes shuts down, who's learning to trust again, who cries at songs and forgets texts and overthinks everything. That you, the beautiful, unfinished, still, growing you, you don't have to be perfect to be loved. You just have to be real, and if someone can't handle that, let them go. The ones who matter won't ask you to perform, they'll ask you to breathe. If they only love your mask, they don't love you. Let that sink in for a minute. We spend so much of our lives crafting a version of ourselves that we think will be easier to love. We put on smiles when we feel like crying. We act strong when we're crumbling. We dress it up, clean it up, and tone it down, all in the hope that someone will look at that filtered version of us and decide we're enough. But here's the catch. When you're loved for the mask, not the person behind it, you're not actually being loved at all. You're being accepted on terms that were never yours to begin with. And that's a lonely kind of love. That's the kind of love that feels good for a while, but never reaches your soul. That's the kind of love that leaves you lying awake at night, wondering if they'd still be here, if they really knew the thoughts that kept you up, the pain you hide under your jokes, the parts of your past you've never dared to say out loud. It's the kind of love that makes you feel like a stranger in your own relationship, like you have to keep the show going or risk losing it all. But love, real love, is not built on pretending. It's not built on performance. It's built on presence, on showing up as you are, unpolished, unrehearsed, and still worthy. The truth is, if someone only knows the version of you that's always fine, always agreeable, always polished, then they don't really know you. And if they don't know you, how can they truly love you? Let's be real, masks are safe. Masks are how we survive the judgment, the expectations, the pressure. We've been told all our lives to keep it together, look strong, smile for the camera. But at some point you've got to ask yourself, how long can I keep pretending? How long can I keep hiding the very parts of me that are most in need of love? The longer you wear the mask, the more you start to believe it's the only version of you that's lovable. But deep down, you know the truth. You know there's more to you than what people see. There's the anxious thoughts, the hard days, the broken dreams, the parts of your story you don't share because you're scared of how they'll react. And still, that's the real you. And still, you deserve love. You don't need love that only shows up for the highlight reel. You need love that sits with you when the credits stop rolling, when the makeup comes off, when the smile fades, when the truth starts spilling out and you're afraid it might be too much. That's when real love speaks loudest, when it looks at your rawest parts and doesn't run. So if someone only loves the together version of you, the one who never messes up, who never complains, who always says the right thing and keeps it light, that's not love. That's comfort. That's convenience. That's infatuation with an image, not intimacy with a soul. And you were made for more than that. You were made to be seen, not scanned, not judged, not managed, seen and loved and chosen, not in spite of your truth, but because of it, because there's beauty in the broken. There's courage in the cracks. There's strength in your story, even the chapters you don't want to reread. So take the mask off. Slowly, maybe, carefully, yes, but take it off. And when you do, the people who truly love you, they won't flinch. They'll lean in, they'll stay, because real love doesn't panic when it meets the real you. It breathes deeper. It sees the soul and says, finally, there you are. You deserve that. You deserve a love that meets you, not manages you. A love that sees your mess and doesn't call you messy. A love that holds your truth with open hands and soft eyes. A love that isn't scared off by the storm but wants to walk through it with you. If they only love your mask, they don't love you. And that's okay, let them go. Because the ones who are meant to stay, they'll love you, not the mask. You, just you, always you. Being fully known is scary, but it's also freedom. That's the tension, right? You want to be seen, but you're terrified of what people might see. You want to be loved for who you really are, but you're scared that if you show the real you, the messy, insecure, complicated, still, healing version people might walk. So you hold back, you give pieces of yourself instead of the whole thing. You say, I'm fine, when you're not. You smile when everything inside you is aching. You keep the truth tucked away behind carefully chosen words and practiced faces. Because the idea of being fully known feels risky, vulnerable, like standing in a room with no armor, no filter, and no backup plan. What if they don't like what they see? What if your story is too heavy? What if your past is too much? What if the parts of you you've worked so hard to hide become the very reasons they walk away? So you protect yourself. You stay behind the curtain. You convince yourself it's better this way, safer, easier, quieter. You give just enough of yourself to feel connected, but never enough to feel exposed. But here's the problem. You can't be fully loved unless you're fully known. And when you refuse to let anyone see the real you, you cut yourself off from the one thing you crave the most: deep, soul-level connection. That fear of being known, it comes from experience, from the times people judged you too fast, from the times you trusted the wrong ones, from the times you were honest and got rejected for it. Those moments left marks, and now every time someone gets close, you hesitate, you second guess, you hold your breath wondering, is it safe to be real here? But let me tell you something honest, even if it's scary, even if it feels like stepping into a spotlight with nothing to hide behind, being fully known is where freedom begins. That's where healing starts. That's where the weight you've been carrying starts to lift. Because when someone sees the raw, unfiltered version of you, the side you're scared to show, and they stay, that's healing. When they hear your truth and they don't flinch, that's powerful. When they look you in the eyes, past all the layers, and say, I see you and I'm not leaving, that's freedom. No more pretending. No more guessing what version of yourself is acceptable. No more lying awake wondering if you were too honest, too emotional, too weird. You can finally rest, finally breathe, because you're not performing anymore, you're just being. That's the kind of peace that only comes when you let people see who you really are. Will everyone be able to handle it? No. Some people won't know what to do with your truth. Some people will back away, and that will hurt, let's not sugarcoat it. But those aren't your people. The ones who walk out when you drop the act were only ever there for the performance. Let them leave. You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to live free. The ones who stay, they're rare, but they're real, and they're worth every risk it took to get vulnerable in the first place. They're the ones who don't just love your light, they hold space for your darkness too. They don't need you to have it all together. They just want you to be honest, and guess what? You deserve that. You deserve to be known fully and loved deeply at the same time. Not after you heal, not once you're perfect, not when you've cleaned up all the mess. Right now, as you are, fully known, fully loved, fully free. So yeah, it's scary to take the mask off, to let someone into the rooms you've kept locked for years. But on the other side of that fear is freedom, real soul, deep freedom, the kind that lets you breathe again. The kind that lets you stop pretending, the kind that whispers you don't have to hide anymore. That's the freedom of being seen and still chosen. That's the power of being known and still loved. That's the life you were made for. You keep wondering if the real you is lovable, but the problem was never you, it was the people who couldn't see you. Let's just say it straight. You've spent too long adjusting yourself for people who were never built to carry the weight of your truth. You bent your back to fit their shape. You watered yourself down to match their taste. You second-guessed your voice, your story, your dreams, just to be enough for people who couldn't even recognize your depth if it hit them in the chest. And what did that get you? Silence, loneliness, emptiness dressed up as approval. You've been told too many times that you're too sensitive, or too deep, or too emotional, and maybe you started believing them. Maybe you thought there was something wrong with you, that if you could just be less, then you'd finally be lovable. But let's break that lie right here. You were never too much. They were just never enough for you. You weren't asking for too much. You were asking the wrong people, because here's what's real. The people who are meant to love you won't need you to shrink. They won't try to fix you, change you, or quiet you. They won't make you feel like your truth is a burden. They'll see you, the whole you, and not just see you, they'll value you. The you that feels everything deeply. The you that overthinks but still hopes. The you that breaks down sometimes but always shows up. That's the kind of you the right people hold with both hands, not fingertips. And you deserve that. You really do. You deserve people who lean in when you talk, not check out. People who ask how are you really, and wait for the answer. People who sit in the silence with you when you don't have the words. People who don't try to rush your healing or skip over your pain. The people who look at the ugliest parts of your story and say, I'm not going anywhere. The love you've been waiting for your whole life. It doesn't live in the places where you have to hide. It doesn't show up in rooms where you can't be honest. It's not born in relationships built on surface-level comfort. That love the real healings stay through. The storm kind of love only lives where there's truth, where you don't have to perform, where you're allowed to be in process, where you don't have to apologize for being a little messy, a little unsure, a little real. So if you've been thinking love always runs once people see the real you, let me say this, those weren't your people. And I get it, it's hard to unlearn that belief. It's hard to stop looking at yourself like a problem that needs to be fixed. But let this be your wake-up call. You're not a problem. You're a story in progress. You're a human being with edges and layers and shadows and softness. And all of that is worthy of love, not when it's polished, not when it's perfect, but now. Right now, as it is, you don't need to hide your pain to be lovable. You don't need to fix all your flaws. You don't need to be smaller, quieter, easier to understand. You just need to be honest with yourself and with the people in your life. Because only the real you can receive real love. Everything else is just survival. And you weren't born to survive, you were born to live. You were born to connect, to feel, to be known, and still chosen. So stop giving your time, your energy, your heart to people who make you feel like loving you is work. Love isn't supposed to feel like a job interview. You don't have to keep auditioning for affection. The right people will already know. They'll look at your soul, your scars, your spirit, and say, yes, you, always you. And when you find that, when you finally stop hiding and someone still chooses you, that's the kind of love that changes everything. There's nothing more powerful than knowing you're loved, not for the version of you that's filtered and polished, but for the one that's honest and raw. Because once that kind of love touches your life, once you realize you can be fully known and still fully loved, it breaks something in you, but not in a bad way. It breaks the lie. The old, loud, familiar lie that says you have to be flawless to be worthy, that you have to hustle for connection, that your scars make you unlovable. That lie dies the second someone looks at the mess and still says, I'm not going anywhere. And here's the part that changes your entire rhythm. Once you know that kind of love exists, you stop begging for the imitation. You stop running after people who only clap for the highlight reel. You stop rearranging your personality to fit someone else's expectations. You stop handing out your soul like samples at a grocery store, hoping someone likes the taste, because now you know what real feels like. You realize love isn't found in applause, it's found in presence. The quiet kind, the kind that sits next to you in your darkest hour, not to fix you or preach at you, but just to be there. That kind of love is rare, but it's real, and once it finds you, or once you find it in yourself, you can't go back. You just can't, not to the fake stuff, not to the small talk, the shallow connections, the performance-based acceptance that won't cut it anymore. Because when you've tasted love without conditions, everything else feels like crumbs. And here's what nobody tells you, you don't just receive that kind of love, you become it. That's what it does to you. Being fully known and still fully loved doesn't just heal the wounded parts of you, it turns you into a healer. It makes you softer with people, because you know what it feels like to be afraid of showing up as yourself. You stop judging so quickly, because you remember how hard it was to let someone in. You start seeing people for who they are underneath the noise, and you're not in such a hurry to fix them anymore. You just want to hold space because someone did that for you, and it changed your life. That's how love works. Real love. It doesn't just stay with you, it moves through you. It teaches you how to show up for people in a way that doesn't demand they be perfect first. It helps you recognize the masks, not to call them out in shame, but to quietly say, "Hey, you don't need that here." That kind of love becomes contagious. It creates safe places. It opens locked doors. It builds trust. It gives permission. Not permission to be reckless, but permission to be real. And when people get that kind of space from you, it's holy. It's healing. It's something they'll remember forever, even if they can't put it into words. So no, this isn't just about receiving love. This is about becoming the kind of person who loves well. Who doesn't turn away from the complicated stuff, who doesn't demand that people have it all together before they're worthy. This is about understanding that every person you meet is carrying something they've been told makes them unlovable, and maybe, just maybe, your voice could be the one that tells them it's not true. That's the cycle, that's the revolution. You get loved fully, deeply, honestly, and it heals you. Then you go out into the world and offer that same kind of love, and slowly, this tired, pretending, performative world starts to look a little more honest, a little more soft, a little more human. You being fully known and still fully loved isn't just a comfort, it's a calling. It's an invitation to live open, live true, and love others the same way. No more masks. No more filters, just people showing up as they are and being reminded that it's more than enough. Because it is, you are, and now you get to go prove it not with words, but with presence, with love that doesn't flinch, with kindness that doesn't come with a checklist, with the kind of grace that says you don't have to earn your way into this room, you belong already. That's what it means to be fully known and still fully loved. That's not just a feeling, it's a way of life.